I call the member for Balmain.
Temporary Speaker, I seek leave to make a contribution to this debate.
Well, is leave granted? Temporarily granted to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I rise to add my voice into the contributions that have been made today by members on this important issue. I commend the member for Sydney for his motion and at the outset acknowledge the decision of the federal government and of our state premier, in particular to his decision around concession fares, which is to be welcomed and is positive, and also for the statements that he has made publicly to help lead this debate. It was in 1993, and of all places in Vienna, at the World Conference on Human Rights, which I attended, that I first met people from this region, and in particular Kurdish people, people who have been fighting for dignity and freedom, and it started a strong interest that I had and continue to have in the issue of asylum seekers and refugees and how we manage these situations of conflict. And one of the things that I've heard today loud and clear, which is something we need to emphasise, is this nation has a role in dealing with the source of refugees and asylum seekers, and that is that we need to have a foreign policy that promotes peace, that promotes social justice, so that we can ensure that these tragedies don't happen. When you look at the amount of asylum refugees that the government is proposing to take, it is an important step forward, because these refugees from Syria aren't seeking a better life, they're running for their lives because of the incredible conflict and pain which they have gone through. It is our responsibility to help support this community. We Greens called for $150 million of additional funding for the UNHCR to help address this crisis. That's about 1/10 of what the federal government spends on locking up refugees offshore every year. The federal government's commitment is welcome. It doesn't meet that level, but of course it is welcome, and we should acknowledge the Prime Minister for his work. The 12,000 refugees is a very positive commitment that the federal government has made. To put that in perspective, Germany is taking about 1% of their population. If we were to take the same here in Australia, we'd be accepting 230,000 refugees, not 12,000. To put it in context, 12,000 people is around about 12 days of population increase in this nation. We know that in Australia we have about 1,000 extra people each day through immigration and through childbirth, so we're talking a relatively small amount, but it is of course welcome. We Greens supported the level of 20,000, which was proposed by Amnesty International, the Refugee Council of Australia and others, but of course we should welcome and acknowledge the government's commitment in this area, and I do so. I wanted to thank all of those people and all of those members that have spoken today, and those people in the community who have helped raise their voices. I wanted to, in particular to acknowledge the rallies which have happened around Australia, the light to dark rallies, where we saw tens of thousands of people across this country asking for a more compassionate approach towards this issue. One of the issues which I raised at the beginning of this speech was about peace and social justice, and we need to be ensuring that our foreign policy position isn't one which is exacerbating problems in other countries, but is in fact capacity building, promoting peace and democracy, and that's one of the reasons why we Greens support a review of the PKK in particular, to ensure that their voice can be heard without being minimised as being terrorist or negative. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, can I thank you for allowing me to make a contribution to this debate in the House. It's very important we come together on a day like this, being positive and unified, and I want to acknowledge all those members, in particular from the government, the coalition parties, for their contributions, and acknowledge the work of the Premier and the Prime Minister.